Can you bring up the PowerPoint? Please. There you go. Thank you. So sign in on the seminar sheet. This course is for 1 credit. State certificates are emailed within 15 days after the event. APM members receive complimentary free CEs. Non-members will be invoiced $15 per CE. Any questions, contact the CE admin, Janice Gasperi, jgasperi@apia.org, or call the office, 215-638,000, extension 101. All right. All that housekeeping is done. It's the same screen. All right. So today we're talking about working with fire losses. If we're going to talk about fire losses, the first thing you have to understand is this is not your everyday claim. Handling a fire claim has to be dealt with a special hand more than a cracked tile claim. All right, you're dealing with somebody, a client who is in a different state of mind. They are crushed, they're devastated. They need somebody there to comfort them and hold their hand. Your job is to be that comforting person, okay? Now, depending on when we're coming in to the claim, they're going to be in a different state of mind. But there's certain things that we have to consider when we're talking about somebody that just had a fire. Housing. Do they need any medications? Where are they going to stay? Their house just burned down. They need a place to stay. We need to help get them in that direction. Do they need any emergency medications that just got lost in the fire? Do they understand that it's their responsibility to protect their property? They have to get that boarded up, and the clock starts ticking on that requirement as soon as the fire scene is cleared. They have to get that house, that property secured immediately. And if you put yourself in the position of the property owner, they're not thinking about that. That is why they need you, because you need to be the voice that tells them, look, I am terribly sorry for the situation that you're in, but we need to make sure that you're protecting yourself to make your claim process as smooth as possible. Because I know you're not thinking about it. Let me think about it. I'm going to make a phone call, get somebody over here, get that place boarded up. Do they have any pet situations? If they're going to go stay somewhere, are there any pet-friendly places for that you can get them into? One of the things about our business is networking. We're a network marketing company. You should be networking with certain organizations, the Red Cross, Salvation Army. You should be going to the local hotels and say, hey, I'm a public adjuster. My company deals with people that have fire losses, and they're going to need emergency places to stay. Is your hotel pet friendly? Would you be okay if we had somebody come in the middle of the night to put them up for a couple days until we get permanent housing, temporary housing? And you want to make a special note if that hotel is pet friendly, because people with pets are going to need that. Clothing, well, they just lost all their clothes. If you're going to get serious and you're going to start running fires, I will tell you, it's not something that you're going to just do once and push that claim aside and let somebody else handle it. You're going to want to be very hands-on. Okay? It's a good idea, if you're going to go down this road, put goodie bags in your trunk. Think of it: toothbrushes, toothpaste, the emergency stuff that people are going to need because they just lost it. A hair comb, any kind of water, drinks, something that you could say, here, take this, it'll get you by for right now. Then we can get you moving forward. Do they need any spiritual assistance? You need to make them aware of the fact that it's their responsibility to document the claim. And you want to ask them the question, what's their plan to document your damages? And at that point, you really need to stress to them that is why they need somebody holding their hand through that process. Somebody that knows how to document the claim. in its entirety, because it is a complex process to get from the beginning to the end. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of documentation that has to be taken in. Certain people, the mortgage company is going to be asking for certain documentation. You've got to know how to handle that. That's why they need you. So if you're going to be doing fire losses, you need to raise to a higher level of professionalism. That's one thing you should understand right now. It is a different ballgame. Your appearance should look very professional. Ask yourself the question, would you hire you? That's the question you have to answer. Are you using professional language? Do you know the policy language? And at some point, whatever your experience is with our company, how many years you've been here, at some point, we all have to have what I call a Rolodex of quick answers for the most common questions that you could, when somebody asks that question, you got something to go right after them. You need to have those Rolodex of answers. How are you going to get them? Coming here and attending the convention is a good start. And it's a continuous process of going to being educated. Because if you are educated, you're going to come off as being confident. And trust me when I tell you, they will notice your confidence. And they will also notice your lack of it if you don't have it. So education is going to be a big part of it in the language that you use. If you're not showing empathy, and I'll tell you, if you're going to run fires and you got dollar signs in your eyes, go a different route. It's not going to work for you. I'll tell you that right now. You cannot come after these fires looking to make the big buck. They will notice that. They'll notice if you're not dealing with them with a sincere amount of empathy. One of the mistakes I see people make too is they talk bad about certain insurance carriers. And I always tell people, look, I'm not in the business to bash a certain carrier. Now, I'm talking to everybody in this room. We all know who the carriers are, right? We all know who the ones that we hate, right? I'm not going to go around spreading that information and talking bad, because at the end of the day, that's not a professional, right? They'll figure it out as they go through the claims process, and they'll know if they got a good insurance company or not. And we can use that. We can put a little bit of fear in them to let them know, look, you have your insurance carrier can be difficult to deal with on a claim. You are going to need to have somebody on your side to present these damages to your carrier, because they just tend to be a little bit more difficult through this process. And it's okay to let them know that. You're going to want to make sure that you have your business cards, your name badges. It's really important that you have some form of identification. I always like to go, when I used to go out on a fire scene, on a live fire scene. It's funny because, you go out there, you want to sign the fire, right? And I'd stand there with my badge on, and I'd just stand there waiting for the scene to clear. And of course, you get all the residents and the neighbors are all looking around, what's going on. And then somebody comes up to me, and I'm just standing there quietly. They say, "Who are you? What do you do?" And I say, "Oh, I'm Jason. I'm a public adjuster." "What's that?" And I said, "Well, I'm here to offer my services to the people that just had this fire." And I said, "Well, where do you live?" They said, "Oh, I live right next door." And I wish I had it with me right now, but I pull out a sponge. I said, "I can give you a free test to see if you have any smoke damage in your home, but it's probably likely. I don't charge anything for it. I could do it in 5 minutes if you want." "Sure." Sign up a handful of smoke claims like that. May not sign that fire claim, but 2 or 3 smoke claims can be equally as financially beneficial for you. Those kind of things work. So make sure that you have your documentation and your identification that identifies you as that professional. Be smarter than the other public adjusters. Look up the information of the property. So get the address, go online, find out a little bit about this property. You can do a reverse lookup to find out who the homeowner is. If there's nobody there, if maybe the place is already boarded up and there's nobody there, you can find out, do a reverse lookup, go on the white pages and look up who owns that property. You can go on the county real estate website. That every county has a real estate website that has that information. You can take a satellite image of the property. Maybe it's a total loss. Maybe the house completely burned down. You're going to need some satellite images of what it looked like before. Know the area, like I talked about before, knowing the hotels that are nearby, knowing the restaurants. If you can't you can't get in touch with the property owner, the local hotels might know who that homeowner is. They may have put them up. The local restaurants may have offered some food service to them, and they may be able to give you the information or even connect you to. You can do a tax map search on any online connections. So how do you do this? So first thing is first. Number one, you got to know your state laws. Every state has different laws on when you can approach a fire client. Just know your state law and what that is. If you don't know, you can ask your sponsor and they'll be able to tell you what that is. But the most important thing is if you have an active fire scene, wait for the scene to be cleared. Respect the professionals, the firemen, the police. Respect those professionals and wait for them to clear the fire scene. At that point, you're allowed to go and talk to the property owner. You have plenty of time to do all your homework. Make sure that you have all the documentation that you need. Talk to the neighbors, anybody that may have had a secondary exposure from that fire. Listen, sometimes depending on how hard the wind is blowing or which direction the wind is blowing, you could have 10 houses up from where the fire was that sustained some decent smoke damage. Some of the smoke damage you can't visibly see. It only takes a sponge to take it down and actually identify it. The homeowner may not even know it's there, but you can get secondary exposures from that. Spread your name around. Tell people, look, if you would like me to give you a complimentary property inspection, see if you have any damage, here's my card, here's my brochure, whatever the case may be. No fire is ever really signed until the recession period is over. And again, that's going to vary from one state to the next, what that recession period is. Working in Pennsylvania, and I believe most of the states that we do business in, is three calendar days to rescind that. But the fire claim is never signed until that recession period is over. So if you're going to make the decision to go and start running fires, it's not a bad decision because, let's face it, it's lucrative, right? There's a lot of money to be made in fires. But if you're not going to be willing to do the work, you might want to consider doing something else or going another direction and working on other kind of claims. If you're not willing to do the follow-up, and I'm telling you, you're probably not going to get that fire signed on the first contact with that person. It may take up to 5 contacts to make that close. If you're not willing to go past the first one, you're not going to sign many fires. That's just reality. All right. Letters can be effective if you can't, like if there's nobody home and you know the address, you can send them a letter. Hey, I'm a public adjuster. Please, I'd like to talk to you. I can help you, so forth. But at that point, it's too late. You're probably not going to get a call back. Appropriate follow-up is going to still be needed. There we go. The fortress is in the follow-up. So has anybody ever read the book Go for No? I recommend reading it. It's a good book. In the book Go for No, the whole premises around the book is about trying to use reverse psychology and try to go and get as many no's as you possibly can, because at some point you're going to make a mistake and somebody's going to say yes and you're going to get that sale. So they read the statistics in Go for No, and they gave you the statistics. So out of the top 10% of salesmen and women, 48% of the salespeople never follow up with a prospect. 48% of the people never make a follow-up contact. 25% of the salespeople never make a second one. 12% of the salespeople only make 3. And it's only that 10% of salespeople that will make more than 3 contacts. And there's another book that everybody should read, Think and Grow Rich. Everybody needs to read that. Who's read that? I'm sure a lot of people have read that. They're making a movie, by the way. Did you see that? They're actually making the Think and Grow Rich movie, which I can't wait. But the book Think and Grow Rich talks about the 1%er people, and what kind of mentality these people have that make them that 1%. And it's fascinating when you see that. And you even look in a smaller area, look at our company. What makes the 1% of our company the 1%? Why is somebody recruiting 150 people in 1 month? What are they doing that's so different from the rest of us? That's the question you want to ask. That's the answers that you need. And when it comes to fires, that's the question you need to ask. Like Jamal Tlaib, we all know Jamal. It's too bad he's like, Art loves Jamal. What makes him the best firefighter? What does he do that nobody else is doing? That's the question you need to know. And it's all about follow-up. He put his time in. He actually goes through and does the work. So why do you follow up? Well, here's what these statistics say in the book Go for No. 2% of the sales are made on the first contact. Just 2%. Think about that. So if you're going to do fires and you're only going to make 1 phone call, you're only going to sign 2% of the claims. And then when you make a second contact, that number only goes up to 3%. 5% of sales are made on the third contact. 10% of the sales are made on the fourth. Now, after the fourth, the fifth one is where you make the biggest jump. 80% of all sales are made on the fifth contact. So I go back again. If this is something you are serious about doing, be prepared to have a lot of people tell you no, and be prepared to do a lot of follow-up, because it's probably going to take you at least 5 follow-ups in order to make that sale. Now, these numbers are all about cold calling, meaning there's no warm connection. If you got a referral of a fire, these numbers are going to be completely different, because a warm market referral the numbers are drastically much higher. You have a better likelihood of signing that claim on the first or second contact because it's a warm referral. So these are based off of, you see a fire, you go out to the fire scene to try to sign the claim. It's a cold connection. So that's what these numbers are based off of. And I talked about Jamal. Jamal is the definition of a true professional out in the field. It can be aggressive in certain areas. The fire market, the fire scene can get a tad bit aggressive. Now, I'm from Pittsburgh. There's only 5 or 6 public adjusting companies in Pittsburgh. How many are in Philly and New Jersey? More than 5, right? So there's at least 20, right? We'll say at least 20 in Philly and at least 20 different ones in New Jersey. A much more aggressive, more competitive market than where I'm at. I've been to a lot of fire scenes, and I'm the only person there. Jamal goes out there, and there's a line of people. Now, the people usually leave when they see Jamal because they know that Jamal's signing that claim and nobody else is. But there's a line of people waiting to talk to the property owner. Given that it's very aggressive and given that it's very competitive, it can also become unprofessional with certain times. Because you're going to not only, think about our competitors are other public adjusting firms, but who else do we have out in the field doing trying to sign these claims up? You have restoration companies trying to be a public adjuster without a license. It's very unprofessional, whether they know about it or not. So there we go. When it comes to the fire department, they have the authority, and you must respect that authority. You need to work and work with the firemen and the police and all the authorities. Work with them, communicate with them, be respectful. Just let them know that you are here to help. That's all you got to say. I am just here to help. I'll wait until the appropriate time. And use that opportunity to develop a nice relationship. Because if you're going to be going and doing these things over and over again, you're probably going to see these people over and over again. It's best to start building a relationship. One of the classes that I teach about networking is, when you boil everything down, all we do as business people is build relationships. We are farmers. You plant a seed, you let that seed prosper and grow. You have to keep working at it. You have to farm that relationship. So start farming the relationship with these people that you're going to be seeing a lot of. If they appreciate you, you will be introduced to a lot of people that normally you wouldn't get in front of. Technology. There are scanner apps. Obviously, there's an app for everything now, so there are scanner apps. Web property searches you could go on. Like I said, you can go to the county websites. Look at become like the pages of on social media of the local fire departments. They will tell you where all the fires are. Because usually, I know my area, the fire department's we were at this property today. We see this, then you could write that address down, find out who the property owner is. YouTube. I was talking with Abahi the other day, and if you don't know about Abahi's YouTube channel, she told me about a lot of searches on YouTube. A lot of these people talk about fire claims. Not a bad idea for you to take some time and watch a few of those videos. When it comes to dealing with fires, your sales strength is never going to be more important, okay? You need, like I said, you are going to need your Rolodex of answers to a lot of their questions and a lot of their concerns. Hi, my name is Jason Cortazzo. I'm a public adjuster. I'm here to help. How can I help? That's how you approach it. Obviously, and I think I shouldn't have to say this, but I'll say it anyway. This isn't the appropriate time to do a flip chart with these people, right? There may be a time for you to go over their information, but on an active fire scene, you're going to handle it a little bit differently than you would a regular claim. Your body language and your word choices are going to be extremely important, more so than the standard claim. You always got to be asking for the close, and there's a trick to do that, which we'll go over. And this is something that you are going to have to spend time and cultivate this speech. You're probably going to have to go out there and screw it up a couple of times because that's the best way to learn. When I first became a field adjuster, I screwed up the first 5 of them that I did. It's the school of hard knocks. A lot of people just are afraid. They're intimidated because the fire scene can be intimidating. And a lot of people are just intimidated by it, so they never get up and go do it. Having that fear of making the mistake or having that fear of somebody telling them no. And they never get out there and do it. Get out there. Make a mistake. Read the book Go for No and try to get as many no's. We actually had a challenge years back to do yourself a favor the next month. Challenge yourself to go to 20 fires in that month and try to get people to tell you no 20 times. I'll guarantee you're going to screw up and somebody's going to say yes, and you're going to sign a fire. Challenge yourself that way. That's the mentality you got to have. And the more you do that, the better you'll become because you'll develop those word choices that are so important in this. You'll be able to see it live in front of you. This didn't work, that worked, I'll use this and this, that, and all of a sudden you fine tune that, and that's how you become the consummate professional in this. Be ready to handle objections. And these are some of the common objections that we get. Give me your card. I'll think about signing with you. Well, at this point, what you want to do is focus on the policy. We'll say, okay, that's fine. Here's my card. But just a quick question. What policy do you have? Do you have an HO 1, 2, or 3? Is it actual cash value or is it replacement cost? How much money do you have in ALE? Let them know what they don't know. Because at that point, once you're going through that, that's when they say, oh, I don't know, that's when you say, well, wait a minute. I don't think you really need to think too long about this because it sounds like you're going to need help because this is a very complex claim And we need to identify a lot of things in your policy to find out how much you are supposed to be owed. If they tell you, well, my insurance company's really good, they will take care of me. So look, listen, I agree. I totally agree with you. Before I got started in this business, I would have said the same thing. But listen, you have to understand, their adjuster represents the insurance company. Somebody needs to be looking out for your interests. That's what I do. That insurance adjuster is a trained negotiator with technical knowledge and a technical background. Somebody with the same technical background needs to be on your side to level that playing field. That's why you need to hire me. Oh, this is one, I love this one. Oh, my relative's a contractor. Great, that's awesome. We can use him or her at the right appropriate time. Now's not that appropriate time because they don't know anything about the policy. When we get to that point about reconstruction costs, we can use their knowledge. But right now it's all about the policy. And we can use them when the time is appropriate. Do you know if your policy has code upgrade coverages? That's a very important one to ask. Because if you have a big portion of your home that is destroyed by a fire or destroyed and you got to rebuild, you're going to have to rebuild the code. You're going to be required to. So it's going to be it's a very important question to know if that's going to have to come out of their pocket or the insurance company's pocket. And we need to know that. They need to know that. And you need to ask them. If they don't know, it's just further solidifying why they need you. Do you have extended replacement cost? We may be able to greatly increase your policy limit. That's a big one there. You want to sell our service? That's one right there. Because if somebody asks you, well, what's your fee? And you tell them it's fires, it's 10%. Why would I pay you 10% when I just have my insurance company? Well, the answer to that last question will answer their question. Do you have extended replacement costs? Because we might be able to get you extended, increase your policy limits. And this is something that you all need to know about the policy. Here's where we earn our keep. This is the stuff that people don't know. And I'll be honest with you, do not go around and share this information with them. Because if you share the information with them, why do they need you? It's okay to let them know, hey, we know stuff about the policy. And you probably are owed more than your limits. And this is something, if you have a homeowner's policy, pull it out and read it. Go to the additional coverages section. Under the additional coverages section of the policy, there's a section for debris removal. And it says, under debris removal, it says, we will pay your reasonable, there's that word again, reasonable, your reasonable expenses for the removal of debris of covered property if a peril insured against that applies to the damaged property causes the loss, or ash, dust, particles from volcanic eruption that has caused direct loss or building property contained in the building. This expense is included in the limit of liability. And then finally, at the bottom, the very most important part of this, if the amount to be, if the amount to be paid for the actual damage to the property plus the debris removal expense is more than the policy limit of liability for the damaged property, here it is, an additional 5% of that limit is available. So if they have a $100,000 loss, how much more money do they have available to them? We just earned our 10%, didn't we? So, and not only that, the deductible's gone now too. So why does somebody pay you 10% to do that? And by the way, we haven't even gotten into the contents coverage yet. We've already made up our fee. Oh, my insurance company told me they're going to max out, they're going to total the claim. That's fantastic. If your $250,000 policy limit, they're going to max out the claim. I bet you they send them a $250,000 check, forgetting about this additional coverage there. And then you ask them, okay, that's fantastic. What about their contents? Are they going to max that out too? We all know that answer. No. They're going to say, here, write down everything you owned. And do you think that, I was just in Bill's class, you want to realize what people can't remember in their home if everything's lost and gone? Ask them to identify everything in their junk drawer and see how, pull everything out and then put it all back and tell them to identify and list everything in that junk drawer. And I bet you they can't do it. We all have a junk drawer. I have a junk room. When we can come in as somebody who's been down this road in the past with other clients, I actually know what most people have in certain rooms where I could say, you probably had this. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. You probably had this. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. We're just adding to the claim. And if you, as a claim rep, and I'll not to get all into contents, but as a claim rep, you really want to help this process out, coming from a field adjuster, and I know there's other adjusters in this room, and I bet you they'll say the same thing. You want to make a little extra money? I'll gladly pay you 5% to help out with the contents. Help that homeowner with the list and prepare that. I'll gladly give you 5% of that adjusting fee. My adjuster friends, you right? That's right. And your adjuster will be very happy that you did that. And we all can make extra money because seriously, it is so time consuming and we just don't have the time to do it. I'll gladly pay somebody to do it because I just can't sit down and do it. It's so time consuming. If you're willing to help out, you're going to make a little extra money and we'll get a claim settled faster. So again, if you're going to be doing this, make sure that you're willing to help out with contents. And always, 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 RTFP, read the full policy. Dirty minds. So what do I do for you today? Ask them. Here's what you tell them. This is what I'm going to do for you today. First of all, we're going to make sure that you're not liable. We're going to get the property secured. We're going to make sure that we start the process of mitigation. And this starts right as soon as the fire company leaves. The time starts ticking for them to start protecting their property. Here's another great question. Write this down. Ask them if they know what the reserve is. Does anybody here know what the reserve is? Here's what the reserve is. If you've ever had a client that got called by their insurance company, all right, that insurance company wants to know the details of the loss. And the homeowner saying, yeah, this XYZ happened. What they're doing is they're trying to figure out what reserve dollar amount, a budget, if you will, to set that claim at. If they hire a public adjuster and we do that talking, that reserve is going to be set way higher. And here's why that's important. On the reopen claims that we do, the biggest reason we have a lot of problems in a fight is because that reserve was set prior to us getting involved. And it was set too low. And now we get involved and our estimate's going to blow right past that reserve. And if it goes past the reserve, now upper management needs to get involved. Now we have a fight on our hands, right? So the sooner we can get involved, we can set the proper reserve on this fire claim. All right? We can go over the details because as adjusters, we know what the insurance company is looking for detail-wise. And we can get that reserve set properly. The claim may have to involve experts. And look, experts cost money, period. And there may need to be some experts that have to come in, or maybe engineers have to come in. A cause and origin might have to come in and give us the cause of the loss. It's okay to tell them, look, I deal with a lot of fire clients, and the worst thing I ever hear is, I wish I would have known about you then. Well, look, here's your chance. I'm here in front of you now, and I can help you through this process. So let's move this forward, and we can help you get your claims settled properly. You don't do this alone. So you can develop, join, energize a fire team in your area. I know corporate has a fire team already organized, but if you're not in Philadelphia or wherever part of the country you're in with Metro, start your own fire team, all right? And help energize, motivate each other. Go out and split the claim with each other. Go out together. A lot of times when we do cat losses, a sales strategy on these things, a lot of people that have gone to the hurricane sites, is it's best for a rep team, male, female, go out. And they get signed more claims. It's just the way it is, you know? And that's where the empathy comes in, right? And that's why a male-female team can be more effective. So team up with each other. Get out there and you get out there in the field and start doing some of these things. You have back office support at our corporate office. Address lookups, name lookups. We can help with all that. ALE assistance. We have an ALE assistance company that we use. For those that don't know ALE, additional living expenses. We have an ALE company that we can use to help the property owner with their additional living expenses. Now, also, we need to take the time to explain to the property owner that these are additional living expenses, not just living expenses. They just don't pay for living expenses. They will pay for anything over and above their normal monthly expenses. All right, so we may have some work to do to figure out what their normal monthly expenses are, and then they pay over and above that. It's an additional living expense coverage. So the next steps are to get interest, join a team, join the monthly webinar from corporate, start your own chapter if you wish, do some legwork, add value to your team, listen to the concerns of the team, and start creating some value. You yourself, bring some value to the table. Get out there and start doing some things and say, hey, look, I was out there, this didn't work, let's try this. You might want to consider not doing this because it didn't work for me. Things like that. Add value to your team. And that's it. Any questions? Yes. Yes. All right, I'll repeat that for the people online. Joe said, if you're going to help out as a rep, you're going to help out with the contents portion of that, you do not need to be licensed in order to do that and get paid because you're working for us. And that's a great point. Did we have any questions online?
Jason.
Yeah.
Does Metro have a company that helps with securing the home after a fire?
So it depends on the area. So does Metro have a company that will help with secure a board up? So I'll tell you, here for our corporate people in Philly and New Jersey, CPR would be the company that would, a company like CPR, mitigation company. So obviously they're not going to go to every place that we have an office or we have people working. So the person, if you're going to be working a fire in a certain region or you're just starting a region, you're going to need to make those contacts. So in Pittsburgh, I spent a lot of time making contacts and reaching out to different restoration companies, board up companies, tree trimming services, all these kinds of contractors, because I may need to use them at some point for this. And that's getting them some business. And of course, they in turn send me business as well. So the answer to that question is, it depends on the area if somebody's already done that. If somebody hasn't, then you would be the person to go make that contact and do that. So hopefully that answers that question. Any other ones? Oh, you want me to go back to a couple slides? Yes. Do you know which one in particular? Follow up. Okay. This one? There you go. And what other one did you need? Okay, where was that one? I think. Yes. Yes, yeah, these slides are going to be, in every class, are going to be made available to everybody. And don't forget, if you're, we all, whether you're virtual or in person, we all have 6 months of access to go watch any class that you want. Yes. Chris, you have a question? Can pet hotels be included in that if we can't find a place that offers a hotel with a pet service? Yes. Very good, very good point. So for those of people that are new, who don't know who Jamal is, Jamal's in Florida, living the life, happy life, because he made Art so much money over the years. And I know, Art, you're really disappointed that he's kicking back in Florida. Jamal, if you're watching, we love you, we miss you. So Jamal Talib is an executive vice president with Metro Public Adjustment. When did you recruit him? How long ago? About 15 years ago. So he roughly came in right before I did then. So, and Jamal found a niche in our industry about writing fires, and he just became the best, not only public adjuster, he's the best in the whole industry. And he's won almost every top fire claim producing award that Metro has, except for 1 year. When it was just shock to all of us that somebody actually beat him. Yeah, Jamal was, still is a great fire adjuster. And he's living the happy life down in Florida. Any other questions? In the back, yes. I actually don't have any of the scanner apps anymore. So I actually don't, Joe, do you know any of them? Scanner Radio. Scanner Radio Plus.
You can also type in incidents on wherever your location is. So if Jay is in Pittsburgh, you can type in Pittsburgh incidents, and he'll have a.
So you're saying just Google search Pittsburgh incidents or whatever area incidents? Not a Google search. An app search. Okay. So do an app search for incidents like Pittsburgh incidents or Cleveland incidents, yeah.
And then if you want, there's also
Lease radio?
Police
Radio.
There's also Scanner 5-0.
Scanner 5-0. Is that, you don't spell the word dash out, it's a dash, right? And then the letter 0 or the number 0 or the letter O? The number 0. Yeah.
There's also Breaking News Network.
Yeah, so if you could, there's a lot of searches that you could do to find these scanner apps.
Also on, like Jay was saying, Facebook, you type in fire and fire's going to come up so many times around your area, and it'll go back to, I think, 2007 when actually.
Yeah. So for those online, Joe said you could go to Facebook and just do a search in Facebook for fire, and you'll find a lot of things come up for fire.
The other thing is figure out when your local fire companies have their meetings.
That's a great point. Yes, find out when your local fire department has their meeting and ask if you can come in and talk to them. Bring a pizza. They'll love you. Develop a relationship. It's all about farming. Farm that relationship. Yes. Anybody else? Yes, over here. A sign in? Where's the sign in? Who has the sign in? There's one there. Okay. There's a couple people that still need it, so let's pass that around. You have a question? Reopening a fire claim. What about it? Well, it depends on what stage of the reopen it is, how long it's been going, and then how much money do we have left on the table. So if you're going to sign that fire claim as a reopen claim, a couple questions need to be answered. My suggestion to you would be call your local adjuster and say, look, I have a reopen. Here's the situation. Here's what we're at. Here's where the insurance company's estimate is. This is what I'm seeing. That adjuster can give you a better idea of how we should sign that claim, because it may not be appropriate to sign it at 10%, because we may only be able to add another $10,000, which at 10%, that's not really worth it. So that you want to have that discussion with your adjuster, and you guys can fine tune on what the appropriate fee is, because with the right amount of information, we adjusters can pretty much determine on what that could be. And of course, how much contents were damaged? Did they pay for any contents? And things like that. That would be a question to answer. So at the end of the day, Joe's right. Don't be afraid to write it. Just sign it if you can. And if you can, sign it for 30%. We could always lower that to an appropriate fee. We can never go back up. So if you can get it signed, go ahead and sign it. Have the conversation. It's happened to me. I had somebody sign a fire at 30%. And I went out and I looked at it and I said, oh, wow. This is a 10%er. And we lowered it down to 10%. And because it was well over $250,000. So we lowered it down to an appropriate fee. They were willing to sign it, but yeah, we lowered it down to 10% because it was appropriate at that point.
Make that on yourself and say, if you are signing it at 30-35%, let them know that your bill adjuster has the authority to bring it down if it sees fit.
Yes. Yeah, just let them know that your adjuster will look at it and has the authority to bring it down to the appropriate fee. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, listen, everybody. I thank you for playing along. I hope you got something out of this. Enjoy the rest of the day. Have a great lunch, and we'll see you back in the general session this afternoon. Thank you.